pretty much identical to mine. And then her just confidence. You can't help but watch when she plays, where she's shooting from, the range, the confidence, the flair. Like, she's a performer.
She bringing all y'all this money to the table, but y'all being petty like dudes. LeBron, you are 100% right. Y'all girls, stop being petty. Caitlin Clark, thank you for bringing all that money and shine to the WNBA.
Caitlin Clark, the young basketball phenom, has been making waves with her fiery court presence and undeniable skill. She's known for her sharp shooting, her endless energy, and let's face it, a level of confidence that borders on contagious. She's one of those rare players who brings heat and finesse in equal measure, turning heads wherever she goes. But recently, her name made headlines for reasons other than her stat sheet. A situation brewed between Clark and a few WNBA players, where, rather than celebrating her as a rising talent, some of these seasoned pros took shots at her. What seemed like playful competition quickly spiraled into a series of jabs and criticisms that seemed, to many, more personal than professional. And when word of this reached the NBA shores, some of its most prominent players felt compelled to step in, showing their support for Clark in a way that left fans buzzing. But before we proceed further, don't forget to smash that like button and subscribe. When NBA players started speaking up, they weren't throwing punches back at the WNBA players. It was more like they were shielding Clark, rallying around her like big brothers around a little sister facing the neighborhood bullies. These weren't random guys from the bench, either. We're talking all-stars, seasoned veterans, players with a reputation for no-nonsense attitudes. The type who usually saved their words for game time but clearly felt that staying silent wasn't an option here. It was a moment that caught fans off guard because it's rare to see NBA players jump into discussions outside their immediate sphere, let alone take up arms in defense of someone they'd probably never even played with. But something about this situation brought out the protector in them. Some saw it as a don't mess with one of our own scenario. Basketball, after all, is a family, and anyone who plays the game at Clark's level understands the grit and grind required to get there. She's a part of the Hoots family, so when the criticism felt a little more like bullying, the NBA's top dogs took it personally. Here was a young player who has done nothing but respect the game, play with heart, and make the sport exciting for fans. So when the WNBA players aimed their criticisms at her, some NBA players were quick to remind everyone that Clark deserves respect, not ridicule. Their defense of her wasn't just about one player, though. It was about the principle of respect in the game and making sure that a talented young player isn't discouraged from shining. Some of the NBA's most charismatic voices used humor to make their point. They didn't jump in fists clenched. They leaned into humor, subtly pointing out how absurd it was to take shots at Clark for simply playing with confidence. They joked about her three-point range, comparing her to some of the NBA's best shooters, saying things like, "I'd take her in a shootout any day." This wasn't a mean-spirited comparison, but a nod to her incredible shooting skills. Some even laughed about how if anyone took issue with her confidence, they'd be in for a world of hurt if they faced her on the court. It was a lighthearted approach, but the message was clear. Clark's confidence and talent are assets to the game, and anyone who thinks otherwise might need to rethink their perspective. There was also an undertone of admiration. Here's a young woman who doesn't back down, who plays with a fearlessness that many NBA stars respect. They saw a bit of themselves in her, a player with a chip on her shoulder, unafraid to go toe-to-toe with anyone. And in a league where players are constantly being scrutinized for showing too much emotion or not enough, Clark's unapologetic style feels like a breath of fresh air. The NBA players saw someone challenging the norm, refusing to be boxed into the quiet, humble archetype that often gets imposed on young female athletes. They admired that, respected it, and wanted to make sure she knew it was okay to keep being herself, regardless of any shade thrown her way. Interestingly, this whole scenario gave fans a glimpse into the unwritten rules of basketball culture. The NBA players stepping up wasn't about stirring the pot. It was about upholding a sense of respect and camaraderie that transcends leagues and levels. They weren't calling out specific players. They were simply saying that a young player like Clark, one who brings excitement and flair to the game, deserves encouragement rather than criticism. It was an unspoken lesson on the importance of supporting new talent and understanding that a rising star in any league elevates the entire sport. In their words and gestures, the NBA players were teaching that it's not just about one league versus another, but about respecting anyone who brings something special to the game. The whole situation could have faded into a few snarky comments on social media, But it escalated because the NBA players' reactions were genuine. They weren't trying to score points by speaking up. They genuinely wanted Clark to feel supported. It was one of those rare moments where professional athletes reminded the world that they, too, are fans of the game. Some of these NBA stars admitted to watching Clark's games, marveling at her range, her composure, and her ice-in-the-veins attitude. When they saw her getting flack, they jumped in not out of obligation but out of admiration. She was, after all, doing what they had done, pushing boundaries, challenging expectations, and most importantly, playing with heart. In a world where athletes are often reduced to stats and contracts, seeing NBA stars rally around Clark humanized them. They weren't just defending her. They were standing up for what makes sports so compelling. The passion, the thrill of watching someone refuse to back down, the beauty of a player who doesn't conform. For them, Clark represented the spirit of basketball, the audacity to play on one's own terms. The NBA players who defended her were showing that they valued these qualities and that they weren't about to let anyone snuff them out, no matter who was throwing shade. The way this story unfolded had fans watching intently. It wasn't just about Clark or even about the WNBA players who criticized her. It was about the basketball community as a whole. NBA stars coming to Clark's defense showed a solidarity that reminded fans why they fell in love with the sport in the first place. It wasn't about league divisions, but about mutual respect for anyone who puts in the work and has the guts to play with conviction. It was a reminder that whether you're a rookie or a seasoned vet, everyone has a place on the court if they play with integrity and heart. Some of the NBA's veterans even used this moment as a way to speak on how they once felt as young players coming up. They remembered a time when they, too, were doubted, when people questioned their style or swagger. For them, Clark's story was familiar, a reminder of their own journeys, filled with challenges and moments of doubt. They knew what it was like to have critics, and they also knew how crucial it was to have someone in their corner, cheering them on rather than tearing them down. In defending Clark, they were, in a way, defending the younger versions of themselves. In the end, the NBA players' support of Clark wasn't just about taking sides, it was about preserving what makes basketball exciting and inclusive. They were protecting the freedom for players to bring their own flavor to the game. Clark's boldness, her daring style, the unflinching way she drains threes and stares down her opponents. These are the qualities that make sports thrilling to watch. And the NBA players, having walked similar paths, knew that such fire shouldn't be doused by criticism. This whole ordeal also reminded fans of the shifting landscape in sports culture. Today's players have the platform and the power to shape conversations, to stand up for what they believe in. When NBA stars jumped in to defend Clark, they were doing more than supporting one player. They were using their voices to set a standard, to remind everyone watching that the future of basketball lies in its diversity, in players who aren't afraid to bring their true selves to the court. Clark's confidence was something to be celebrated, not mocked, and the NBA stars who spoke out made that crystal clear. As the dust settled, the moment lingered in fans' minds. It was a lesson in the camaraderie that exists among athletes, even across different leagues. It was a testament to the shared love for the game and the respect that transcends team colors and logos. Clark, undoubtedly, took notice. She probably felt both humbled and emboldened by the support, knowing that some of the game's most respected names had her back. For her, this backing from NBA stars was more than just a defense. It was an endorsement, a nod that she belongs in the pantheon of basketball's rising stars. Don't forget to hit that like button and subscribe to our channel for more engaging content. We thrive on your feedback, so be sure to leave your thoughts in the comments section below. Until next time, keep discovering and stay tuned.